Hello, and welcome to the War in the Pacific. It's the 25th of January, 1942, in the Wirraway versus Encircled Playbound Mail campaign. We continue to unload supplies at Zamboanga. Looks like he sent his surface forces in to try to disrupt our operations south of Suva. So, Sea Lion is operating off Diego Garcia. Okay. I-24 doesn't get a shot at Northampton and her destroyers. Our torpedo boats running down AKLs north of Borneo. Oh, looks like his surface ships caught up with one of my empty transports. She was a fast transport bringing in supplies, actually returning after offloading supplies. But and after the second try, the Americans sink her. And this is looks like a single destroyer. Again, these transports are empty. Henley doesn't really do much. I-8 sinks a small transport in the Cook Islands. If I've sequenced this right, my bombardment task force at Diego Garcia should not bombard until the day phase, and that looks right. And there should be lots of reconnaissance of Diego Garcia going on with almost all my float planes set to buy on the island. Oh, okay. So he did have those were surface forces. Looks like two modern destroyers and a modern light cruiser against two older, uh, but 8-inch Japanese cruisers and some uh, semi-modern destroyers. So far, the Americans seem to be getting the better of this exchange. We'll speed through it. So it looks like I'm likely to lose one of my destroyers, and Phoenix is at least crippled. There is at least one penetrating 8-inch shell to her hull. Though the loss of one of these destroyers is, you never want to lose a ship. This is not a bad outcome, assuming that the Americans are driven off and there aren't other American ships in the area. That will allow the amphibious task force to continue to its target. Like a submarine that was identified as sorry is retreating from truck after being hit by a Kate on ASW last turn. That is. Dory sweeps. Bombing the retreating Dutch. Yeah, so the 36th Chinese division is at Tunggu, and it's not the only one. We know the 1st Burma Division retreated there last turn. So my float planes reconning Diego Garcia. Some Sonia's doing airfield suppression at Sorbaja. Sally's attacking the enemy troops at Kopang. Some Hudsons going after the withdrawing Rougeau. Sorry, that wasn't Ruo, that's Tayo. She's on her way to Singapore to get some quick repairs. Ruyo is operating off Fort Moresby. Okay, so far so good. Enemy Air Force didn't fly today except for those Hudsons. Okay, flush deck enemy destroyers in northern Java. They were presumably trying to run down my torpedo boats. The torpedo boats withdrew after sinking the transport last turn. So Kate's just doing ground attack. So just the RN detachment. According to the Kate pilots, it's just the RN detachment there. That's good. So not sure. Maybe he's bringing in supplies. Maybe those were submarines that identified last turn. Um, It doesn't at least look like he reinforced Diego Garcia. Protection level on Diego Garcia should be plenty high for the battleship bombardment coming up at the end of the phase. Enemy ASW still trying to track down I-162. Ooh, Skipjack got some shots in at Rougeau. Missing. Okay. Battleships pasting and cruisers and destroyers pasting Diego Garcia. And as far as I can tell, it's just the RN detachment. And they look pretty much to be wrecked. So we'll send in the amphibious task force tomorrow to take the island, the atoll, I guess. Troops landing at Jolo. Okay, so the remnants of his units still holding out along the Nanyang Xi'an Highway. They continue to be slaughtered, but they're still holding the train, potentially making it possible for him to reinforce. We've got reinforcements headed to Changsha to take it from the weak force that's holding it. Remnants of the Dutch. So it was an AA unit. Let's see if we... Good. We didn't destroy it, so everybody's pursuing. So that's a good outcome. Uh, didn't destroy the unit, and most of my units will have made good progress towards Tungu. Let's see if we can do in the end of the U.S. engineers at Tofua. Oh, you had some kingfishers there. Okay. So Zamboanga fell. It's good. The FMSV brigade is trapped south of Cotabaru, and the Thai units are trying to do them in. Paratroopers grabbing more bases in Sumatra. So he flew some of the 91st Division into Jolo, just a very small amount. Okay, interesting. If you recall last turn, his transports, he was trying to fly the 91st into Zamboanga when the Catalinas ran into zeros on cap. I think we'll speed through the end of the turn phase. CVL Shoho arrives just in time. She's going to help cover our landings on Luzon, remove any remnants of the American and Philippine air forces. I guess technically the U.S. Air Forces in the Philippines. Let's just check in the illusions. Looks like he has patrol craft, probably Canadian ASW ships operating off Sitka. Looks like resupply. Oh, good. We have built up Paramashirojima as our anchor and are continue to push engineers and other units into the Aleutians. He didn't detect this fast transport task force, so it delivered the engineers to Amchitka Island. Shima Island is almost capacity 2. Target is 3. In China, no significant change from last turn. Our aircraft did not fly. Against Xi'an, the units around it. Still moving troops up towards Hemi. Let's check. 15th Division is on its way to reinforce the 34th Division, along with some more artillery. And we're still moving the 40th and 6th Division down to Kukong and then around to Wuchao. Okay, the tanks made it into Tanggu, which is tricky, so it looks like we're going to have to attempt to reinforce them before they're driven out. Let's see how far these guys made it. 16 miles, so they've got quite a few days of slogging through the jungle. However, we have the 55th Cavalry available, so we'll try to get them into Tanggu before he realizes how weak we are there and counterattacks. Meanwhile, we'll use as much air power as we can assemble. Now that the Sallies are recovering from the extended campaign against Singapore, we can redeploy these 3 Sally Sentais to the Burma theater. Looks like we obliterated, using the term technically correctly. It's been thrown around in the news somewhat loosely of late. Looks like we obliterated the defenders on Diego Garcia and will land this turn. still a couple Dutch units in the hex, so again, we'll try to calibrate that attack so we don't destroy them, but force them to retreat and pursue, just saving us some time on the final move on Sorbaha, though a day or two is not critical here. Oh, went too far south. Just checking on the status recovery. These guys are still a ways from being combat ready, so my suspicion is we may have to reinforce to take Kopang. Damboanga is ours. This base at Dumanquila flipped suddenly for no obvious reason, so it gave him a retreat path. It's not bad. Again, he retreated out of the hex with losses. He has no supply. We can grab the base and let him starve, marching his way out. Looks like just a fragment, platoons of enemy Philippine infantry on Jolo, so our veteran Special Naval Landing Force unit should be able to take that without requiring any reinforcements. A couple AKLs there. It's destroyers we sighted off Jesselton. Probably need to move these torpedo boats because they won't stand up very well to his flush deck destroyers. Tayo and her escorts heading back to Singapore, along with minesweepers heading towards Singapore, because we have to clear the port and then move transports for our phase 2 operations all in the coming days. We just check in. Nothing shouldn't have been. We got some Hudsons, I suspect. Ah, interesting. So another shadow battle, which we didn't see. His buffaloes were long range capping something, um, and ended up tangling with my zeros and coming out the worse for the wear. Then the Hudsons we saw, the Kingfishers we saw. Yes, so lost a zero. He lost another Catalina to air somewhere along the line. So when these shadow air battles occur between cap and long range cap, you can usually see it in the operations report. So these are the carrier pilots. Let's see if there's any other sign. So yeah, third coup. So let's go look at the third coup. So I think it was third coup B. So they were on cap. Yeah, cap over Rangoon. And it looks like they tangled with his long range cap shooting down some buffaloes. It's the best I can get from this. Yeah. So what he's only doing is long range capping Rangoon and trying to get his B-17s to bomb again. Uh, but his Buffaloes came out definitely worse for their wear, tangling in a shadow air battle with the third coup cap. Okay, well, uh, phase one is just about wrapped up uh, with all of our major objectives either in hand or just about in hand, including Cocos Island and Diego Garcia in the Indian Ocean. Of course, big bases like Singapore and Rangoon, and uh, the defeat of the enemy in Java, the control of the Banda Sea, which is still pending, um, with Kopang yet to fall, and he still is operating patrol aircraft at Lantum. So Timor is yet to be resolved. Looks like we'll be able to land at Port Moresby. These should be his retreating destroyers. This should be our damaged Yamakaze, which is Shiratsuga class destroyer, not one of Japan's best or worst. She at best probably has a 50-50 chance of making it back. So we'll probably lose one destroyer from this operation. If that's all we lose, that's uh, that's fine. And then, um, of course, Fiji is in her hands. Suva having fallen a week ago after a pretty protracted battle. Uh, it was interesting how hard that relatively inexperienced unit of Kiwis fought. If you look at you know, look at the disablements on these uh, mixed regiments brigade, not a lot of losses, but in terms of destroyed squads. And of course, the the veteran 144th is in much better shape. She's going to be the primary combat unit that will have to recon and get a better sense of how much combat power is on Kavua before we move on that island and eventually with the goal of taking all of the Tonga Islands. I think I talked about that yesterday. So, looking forward to our next chance to talk. It's a good campaign so far. Circled is a great opponent, and he has some very aggressive uh, counterattack tactics. So I'm sure I'm sure the next few days won't be dull as we look to wrap up our phase one objectives. Talk to you soon.